When people say the land means something, I get it. As someone who has paid the estate tax, I get it. I get it. It's personal to me. We have now entered what I refer to as a structural trade deficit. I'm glad to work for an administration that is working to bust up the status quo, and as part of every deal that the president is negotiating, ag is on the table, and it's what can you buy from us.
At Farm Bureau Health Plans, we are your neighbors, your friends, and partners in health. We believe everyone deserves the very best care tailored to your unique needs. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Plan on us.
Joining us now on Root of the Matter is Judge Stephen Vaden. You were the judge. Now you're Deputy Secretary of U.S. Department of Agriculture. Deputy Secretary, how does that feel?
Well, it's going to take a little bit getting used to, but of course it's an honor coming from Obion County, Tennessee, to find myself the #2 person in the department that has the most to do with my home county and all of West Tennessee for that matter.
And obviously you were here during the first Trump administration, a different role at that time as General Counsel.
That's right.
So you know a little bit about USDA,
I do. When I was General Counsel, I could tell people I'm just a lawyer, I don't do policy. I don't have that excuse anymore, so that'll take some getting used to.
So, yeah, well, describe this role, what this role is going to be, how you're going to lead here at USDA.
Well, you know, my job is to be here most days of the week when I'm not on the road doing travel to ensure that the President and the Secretary's agenda gets implemented. And obviously my tools as a lawyer will come into that because there are a lot of laws that govern what we do. We want to make certain that everything we do will be upheld in the courts so that the policies can be implemented. And it's also my role to meet with stakeholders and hear their concerns and see to it that that gets transmuted into policy.
So that role of Deputy Secretary, and for that matter, the Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, who just was here for the swearing in, and it's so important, as you talked about, in terms of what agriculture means to Tennesseans, to all Americans, and really across the world, right?
Well, when you think about it, USDA is one of the largest cabinet departments. We have 8 undersecretaries. Each of those 8 undersecretaries has a lot on their plate, but they only see a sliver of the entire department. There are only 3 officers of the department who have to consider the department as a whole: the Secretary, the Deputy Secretary, and the General Counsel. And I've now held 2 out of those 3 roles. And so, you know, for every undersecretary who thinks that he or she is overwhelmed, multiply that by 8 here at USDA, and that's what we have to deal with on a daily basis.
Yeah, and obviously you have that background, as you said. You came from Northwest Tennessee. That's home, right?
That's right.
And in southern, southwestern Kentucky.
Yes.
Talk about that back home.
Well, you know, I'm still going to get home on weekends, and that's very important to me. And as someone who has been involved in farming, I own farms. In this role, I need to be clear, I'm not allowed to be actively involved in farming, and I'm not. But I don't forget what you learn, and the fact that the trade, crop protection chemicals, and the uncertainties of the weather and all that brings. I mean, right now we've had a lot of rain in Tennessee. In my section of Tennessee, we've had a year's worth of rain and we're just half through the year. We're hoping the law of averages don't catch up to us. But we're very fortunate that the One Big Beautiful Bill just passed, and we are, for the first time in years, going to have reference prices that reflect the actual cost of production. We're going to have reforms to the crop insurance program, and this is going to make it easier for farmers to keep on keeping on while we negotiate the trade deals to open up new markets, which will hopefully raise commodity prices so everybody can get what we all want, which is a market-based price that ensures a profit and ensures that we continue to remain on top.
And to hopefully withstand some of these weather events, right?
That's right.
That's been kind of critical the last few years, but it's always, we've seen these weather patterns, how they cycle.
They are cyclical, and that's something important to keep in mind. It's not just one event, it's over time. Some areas become wetter, other areas become drier, and then things reverse. We've just got to be nimble, and we're thankful to the Congress for giving us new tools to be able to handle these situations.
So, and you mentioned trade. Obviously, with your role as a judge on the U.S. Court of International Trade, and then your previous role as general counsel, talk about how those are helping you to be a better Deputy Secretary of Agriculture.
Well, obviously, having seen trade from the legal perspective, I know the agencies that are involved. I know the technicalities of the processes that they have to go through in order to implement or pull back tariffs. I know the legal findings that have to be made, and I know the parties that are involved, because many of them, believe it or not, appeared in my courtroom at one time or another in the last 5 years. So what I hope to be able to do is to be a resource, in the sense that when they want to know about what effect something may have on agriculture, I know agriculture, and thanks to the past 5 years, I know trade. And I know these people, and we can have good conversations. Because in reality, as they know, in order for us to have a successful trade policy, we have to have a successful agricultural trade policy. That is an area that we have historically won on. We are currently in deficit, which historically is an anomaly, and we've got to find a way to reduce that deficit.
And that hadn't necessarily been cyclical, right? Because we've enjoyed, agriculture has been one of the few industries, right, in our nation's history that has enjoyed that trade deficit.
That's right. From basically the 1960s at least until the prior administration, there were 1 or 2 years where we may have gone into a slight deficit that was an anomaly, but we essentially had surpluses as far as the eye could see. We have now entered what I refer to as a excuse me, structural trade deficit. That means unless demand patterns change, unless something pretty fundamental changes, we're going to be in deficit. That's going to be the new status quo. I'm glad to work for an administration that is working to bust up the status quo, and as part of every deal that the president is negotiating, ag is on the table, and it's what can you buy from us.
It's going to be extremely important. We know that trade has been an important part of what our farmers expect, because they know they do such a great job in producing, you know, the corn, soybeans, and all the different crops and livestock that we produce. Trade is vital for their success. To be able to sell all these products around the world and open up those new markets.
Well, it is. We are fortunate. For most of world history, the problem has been, where are we going to get the food that we need to feed ourselves? We have the opposite problem. Where are we going to sell the surpluses of food that we produce here? We really are blessed. But it is a job. Unfortunately, we have a lot of competitors who have been very aggressive, particularly over the last 4 years, who have tried and in some cases have successfully stolen what previous was our market share. We've got to get that back, and we can't take no for an answer anymore when we're talking to other countries, because we have the most plentiful and safest food production system in the world, and if their citizens are to have the benefits of safe food for which you know the quality is good and you know the quantity will be in whatever quantity you need it to be, you come to the United States for that.
I know the President and the Secretary, Brooke Rollins, are a lot about America first, farmers first, right? That's what's going on here at USDA, right? That's the mission.
That's right.
That you all hope to
That's
continue to share throughout the country, right?
We are the Department of Agriculture, so everything that we do needs to have farmers front of mind. That's our first constituents. And then we've got the people of rural America who support the farmers and the local economies. And we've got to make certain that the rural American economy shares in the prosperity that the urban American economy has experienced over the last 25 years. Rural America cannot be left behind. They've got to be front of mind.
and I keep wanting to say Judge Vaden, and I'm just going to continue that, I guess.
I'm not going to stop you.
Until I change it. But Judge Vaden, there's so many people in this country. There's so many farmers, or so many of us removed from the actual farm. It continues. We're continuing less farmers every year, and to me that means less people involved, obviously, but less people knowledgeable of why agriculture is so important. I mean, you look in Tennessee, I know it's not like that in every state, but it's our #1 industry.
Well, you've made a couple points there that I want to comment on. First, this administration is not going to subsidize the conversion of farms to some other form of economic output. We're not going to be spending taxpayer money to convert farms into solar panel fields. The Secretary's already put a stop to that. Similarly, the Secretary has been active in trying to remind local governments that farmland is not unproductive land. It is highly productive land. And every farmland that's lost, every farm that's lost, every acre that's lost, you may think the building is new and gleaming at this point, but 10 or 15 years from now, you're probably going to be thinking about what can you tear down to replace that with. That's just the bottom line of particularly retail, which is what they typically want with economic development and farmland for. Whereas that farm can be productive for as long as we'll all be here if you'll just let it be. Secondly, it is important that we keep in mind that we've got an education mission here at USDA because, as you have noted, so few of us feed all of us. The knowledge that used to be commonplace and that is scattered throughout our language in so many phrases has been lost. And so the one thing that I want the Tennessee Farm Bureau members and Farm Bureau members across the country to keep in mind is that you are truly ambassadors. Everywhere you go that's not your home area, if you're in a rural community, you may be the only person involved in agriculture that the people with whom you are dealing ever come in contact with. And so use that opportunity for one-on-one personal connections to let them know that our food system is safe, that everything we do is designed to squeeze more productivity over less and less land, and that when they go to the grocery store, everything they buy should come from the United States, and if it does, then they can rest assured that they're feeding their family not only healthily, but that they are feeding their family at the cheapest, most plentiful rate of anybody in the world, and that includes Europe, if you look at the numbers. We spend less of our income, on average, that each of us make, feeding ourselves than basically anywhere else in the world, including our Western allies. That is a credit to American agriculture. That's because of the American farmer, and we should celebrate that and not denigrate it.
It's a story worth sharing, for sure. And your story is worth sharing. You grew up, again, Northwest Tennessee, and you said your farms, your family, you researched, and your farm in Kentucky.
That's right.
Even goes back to the 1820s?
It predates the county in which it sits, yes.
Yeah.
When Fulton County was established by the Kentucky State Legislature following the Jackson Purchase, my ancestors were already there farming.
That's got to be special to you that you're maintaining or that land is still in your family's name.
That's very true. And so when people say the land means something, I get it. When people point to the one big beautiful bill about the certainty that has come with the estate tax provision, as someone who has paid the estate tax, yeah. I get it. Yeah. I get it. It's personal to me. It's not a talking point. I know what it's like to sit down in a room full of lawyers and accountants after the death of your parents and have to sit there and go from mourning mode to business mode and to figure out how we're going to make this work. That's real to me. And so having done it, I'm thrilled that our Congress has seen to it that fewer and fewer people will have to go through that hell of dealing with the IRS going forward.
I'm sure, Judge, you've heard from a lot of folks from back home in your new role here and across the country that are showing their support and and excited for you. What's that mean to you? I mean, when you think about it, I think you had shared with me a week or so ago that this was kind of, surreal, that you're a young man still.
Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that.
That you've had already some really very nice roles in the federal government and at USDA, and now, as you say, you're the #2 person here at USDA. What's it mean to you to be at this position at this point in your career?
Well, that's why going home is so important to me. It's not just a respite from the hurly-burly of previously New York, now once again Washington, D.C. It's a reminder. One of the things that farmers understand is that if you're going to have a good crop, it has to be rooted well. And if you take a plant and you rip out its roots, it's going to die. And so Northwest Tennessee, that's my roots. My roots are still there, and you'll find me there on weekends. I'm still going back. I'm not going to forget who I am. But it's important as you go through life to occasionally set and appreciate where you've been able to go. I mean, for someone who went to the Union City school system in Union City, Tennessee, class of 2000, we're having our 25th reunion in October. Okay. It's on my calendar. I'll be there.
I said, you're a young man.
I will be there. To think about, setting in the different classes with my friends, many of whom I still see. And I have had an office in the financial district of New York. I have twice had an office on the National Mall here in Washington, D.C. at the U.S. Department of Agriculture. And, the President of the United States is aware of who I am. That's something. And that's a story that is also only possible in the United States of America.
Well, we're extremely proud of you. Tennesseans are proud for you and excited that you're here in this role with Secretary Rollins and the President. He's just like right over there, right? I'm
going to have lunch over there later today, yes.
You're not a stranger to the White House.
Yes,
and that's extremely important to folks that earn their living off a farm. That a farm boy from Northwest Tennessee has lunch with the President.
Well, to that point, it goes back to my point about education and how we're all ambassadors. I've attended some allegedly fancy educational institutions. For most of the people who were in my class, and for many of the people in the legal community that I'm a part of, when they think of ag, they think of me, because I'm the only person they know that has any knowledge or footprint in it. And the same is, I'm certain, true for many of your Farm Bureau members. And what's important is that for each of those members to do the same thing that I do. When someone calls you up and has a question or wants more information, take the time to take the call and use your voice. That has more impact than anything else you could do, that personal connection of telling you, let me tell you how it is, let me tell you how this is done, and let me explain to you why this is important.
As we wrap up, at the root of the matter here is that agriculture is our most important industry. We all depend on it 3 times a day at least, and some of us more, but it's so critically important that people understand the role, the importance of our farmers, of the agricultural industry, and what it means to all Americans, right? That's the bottom line. It is our most important industry. Would you agree?
Yes, and it is not cliche. Food security is national security. If you can't feed the Army, it doesn't matter what type of gun they have because they won't be able to use it. Sure. The food comes first, and we are blessed in this country to be able to feed ourselves. That is our greatest national security asset, and we should never forget that.
Are you excited for this challenge?
Oh, I realize it's a challenge, and I realize that some days will be better than others. But I'm blessed to have the problems that I will soon have. I'll put it that way.
Well, Judge Vaden, Deputy Secretary Vaden, congratulations on the swearing in of becoming number 2 here at USDA, and you are going to make agriculture great again, right?
We are, and I really thank the Tennessee Farm Bureau for their support, both in Tennessee and here in DC.